Anyways, let's get on to business and branding. And Jonny, I think you're going to like this conversation today. Kristina, I know you are as well. We're going to talk a lot about leadership. We're going to continue leading into the Business Athlete Manifesto. And I'm just pulling it up on my phone here because I want to quickly go through what we've gone through so far. So as I talked about on Friday, I decided a number of years ago to create a manifesto for myself, my values, wrote them down, created a video. And then when I meet somebody and they go, who's this Keith fellow? I'm like, here, watch my video. And it gives you an idea about what I stand for, who I am, and what I'm all about. And I started this last week, and we talked about the first few things in the manifesto, which is putting humans and wellness first, prioritize physical, mental, and emotional self-care. Yesterday, we talked about leading with love and having good manners. Today, I got a few that I want to continue with. And the first one is, I want to kick off things with lead through empowerment. Now, Kristina, Jonny, true leadership isn't about telling people what to do. Not at all. It's about empowering them to take ownership of the roles that they have. When you empower people, you're trusting them with responsibility, and that trust makes teams stronger. Kristina, looking to you first. How can leaders build teams that are empowered, not just managed? In your work career, working with others for the MBA and so forth, did you have bosses that empowered you or did they manage you? And then Jonny, I'm going to ask you that same question between empowerment and managing, two very different things, very different results. Kristina Flynn.
So I've been incredibly lucky throughout my career to have bosses so I don't love the word empowered. I think it's about, I don't need to be empowered. I'm empowered. I need access and opportunity. So when I think about that, it's giving platform. It's not saying, here's my platform and you can use it for a period of time. It's, you already know exactly what you need. You may not have a clear path to get there. So I'm going to give that to you. So that's the way that I look at empowerment. But I was really lucky, and I've always been really lucky. I haven't loved having a boss, but when I've had bosses for long periods of time, I've had great bosses who put a lot of trust in me and gave me a lot of opportunity and access and had me force autonomy on myself. I really had to, and anyone who's worked in pro sports knows this, you're thrown in. You have to be. There's no time to be training people along the way. You just have to figure it out. And it's a relationship game, or at least it was in my position. I had to build relationships with players, and I had to take their life that was very different than mine and create that emotional connection between us so that we could get the job done and that they could build and develop trust with me. So I think I'm so fortunate, and I know many who are not as fortunate as I am, of the importance of giving somebody autonomy and giving them access and opportunity.
Hey, Jonny, looking at you, brother. So two sides of the fence for you. So your entire career, you've been very much an independent contractor, right? Bodybuilding, strength, and weightlifting.
Entrepreneurship, and yeah.
As somebody who has empowered clients along the way, where do you draw the line on empowering and managing? Have you had clients call you and want your services, but then you recognize while you're working with them that they actually want you to manage them? Talk about that role difference, Jonny.
Yeah, this is actually really interesting because I can talk about clients really quick. And also, I actually just brought on a new team member yesterday. And this really applies what we're talking about. So when it comes to a client, what I'm looking for with a client is I'm looking for someone who wants to evolve, wants to develop, and they need the structure, they need the guidance. And if someone needs to be managed, that's usually, I can't say that's not a good fit, but what I'm looking for is someone who actually wants to learn to do it on their own rather than someone that's just going to sit over the top of them and tell them yes, no. And so, but this really applies well to what literally yesterday. So I brought this new guy on, and I'm showing him what's going on. And what I'm doing is I'm showing him the system that he's going to be working in within the company. And he's getting it. We're having a conversation. He's picking it up really well. And I'm leading him with positivity. And I explained to him, listen, don't be nervous. You understand the system really well. All you got to just follow the system. And if it doesn't work, you didn't fail. The system does. The system did. And we'll alter the system. And I said, and furthermore, everybody on the team is a part of developing the system. So when you start to recognize there's an opportunity for us to develop a system, I want you to put it into basically the pipeline where we developed the system. It's basically a community chat amongst all the team members. And he was made comfortable the fact that he just followed the system and he wasn't on the chopping block himself, which gave him a lot of confidence. And then B, when I told him that we wanted him to contribute, you could just feel it brought him to a whole nother level. He didn't want to exist anymore. He wanted to be a player. He wanted to be offensive with what he was doing, rather than a lot of times people come in, they're playing defense because they don't want to mess up. They don't want to make a bad mistake. Follow the system. If the system breaks down, it's not your fault. We'll alter the system. The system will keep getting better. And I could just feel his energy rise when I explained. Now, the best part about this is you're a part of the system development. And I think that falls right in line with what Kristina was saying, just telling the story with different set of vocabulary.
Kristina, I'm intrigued by the fact that you're like, you're not a fan of the word.
I knew you would be. I knew you would love that. I saw your brain go, really?
Yeah. But as I've gotten to know you, I'm not surprised by it. And I'm thinking in my head that there's a lot of people out there that don't like that word empowered because, no, I'm already fucking empowered. I don't need you to empower me. What you really want, Kristina, so I guess not in our dynamic, because I hate the word boss. I fucking hate it. I don't like the boss. I'm not a fan of hierarchy. I suspect John's probably very similar to me that way. I don't like hierarchy. I would rather we all have different roles. I know at the end of the day, only one person can put their foot on the steering wheel. I'm sorry, on the pedal and hold the steering wheel. But I'm a big fan of a flat structure and empowerment and supporting each other to hit our goals. I don't like this idea of a boss. But Kristina, what you're saying is that I'm an adult. I'm not a child. I know this idea of empowerment. What I want from you, Mr. Boss, Mr. Leader, Mr. Colleague, is somebody who's going to unequivocally help me achieve my goals. I'm already empowered. Just support me when I fall and celebrate me when I win. That's really what you're saying, isn't it, Kristina?
It's 100% what I'm saying. And I think this idea of empowerment comes with almost this like savior complex associated with it. Is, I'm going to empower you. We talk about it a lot with underrepresented communities. It's we need to empower underrepresented communities to do this and this. It's fuck off. I'm empowered. I don't have access and opportunity because equity doesn't exist in this situation. So as my boss, you don't need to empower me. I've got that covered. That's internal to me. What I need you to do is I need to take this path that has a lot of bushes and weeds on it, and I need you to chop them down because you have access that I don't. And you need to give me that access, not empower me. You need to give me that access, carte blanche, to chop down those trees so I can walk that path because you can walk it easier than I can. Does that make sense?
It does. And you're in many ways changing my perspective on this, because I think when you're empowering someone, you might be thinking about hiring the wrong person. And what I mean by that is that if you're hiring the wrong person, you're having to manage or empower them. If you hire the adult and focus on the results, then you can focus on supporting them and celebrating them instead of managing or empowering. Jonny, I see you leaning in on this.
Well, I think the empower, I think if that just turned that around and turned into inspire, the whole conversation changes, because empower is definitely you could call that a condescending position or phrase or word, whatever you want to call it. As to where really what we want to do is we want to inspire. That's me telling this new team member, and I refer to him as a team member. It makes him feel he's a part of something. And so when I'm telling him that he gets to be a part of the system development, it inspires him to do his best. And that's really, and the whole thing of a boss, there's leaders, and the boss is just that, I don't know, limp dick term that people use because they want to sound cool. But when it comes down to it, even people that hold on to a boss, they basically lean on their leaders, because the leader is the one that really is that's the glue. That's the forward progression. That's what the organization needs, is the people that are willing to do what the other people won't, to lead the way.
Yes, we got you all jumping in with some comments. You all, I see your comments here. I think you're adding some value now. So I'm going to bring you on screen here, you all. Managing is taking the skills and information that they already have and using it in the scenarios that you are encountering. And you all says, I think what is empowering and gives people a lot of access is the information and skills to deal with the scenarios that they will encounter. And then he continues to say that through managing, then they may never actually get to understand the system that they're working in. People believe, I think, that they have the power and the potential, not just the patterns and the access. And that's what Kristina's talking about, Yael. She's like, I'm the adult. You've hired me. Give me the access so that I can achieve my goals. And again, Kristina, I never thought about it that way. But you're like, again, I'm thinking back to your MBA world. You're like, no, you brought me in to get things done. I don't have access to that door, the person behind that door, Keith. So if you can give me the access to that door and the person behind that door, I can get shit done. That's what you're saying, Kristina.
That's what it is. Like the challenges that a lot of people have as they're starting their career, as they are becoming their own business person, as they're building their own brand, is that you have to have exposure. But in
Yes.
order to get exposure, you have to have access. So if you're coming in from a position, and access is said in many different ways, we're talking access to information, we're
Mhm.
talking access to people, we're
Mhm.
talking access to capital and to resources. There's a variety of ways to provide access. So I prefer to look at it like that. You have everything you need except for potentially a clear path to get to where you want to go. And I, as somebody who's been doing this a little bit longer, who's somebody who has a different network, perhaps is more connected, I can provide and give you my access and give you a conduit to get to where you need to go through me. And maybe not even through me, by way of me. And
Yes.
I think to me, that's just a much, I don't know. It just feels a whole lot safer. And like John said, it's a whole lot less condescending, even though I know most people don't mean to be condescending.
Yes. So let's continue moving from empowerment to this idea in the manifesto of encouragement and support. Always that whole idea of unequivocal, unconditional. But here to me is the key. And John, I want to look at you to start this off as you've went through your career. It's easy to encourage you, or it's easier for you to encourage your team when things are going well. But true leadership is about showing support even when the shit gets tough, when the road gets tough, when you look out there, there's just nowhere to go. That's being a true leader. John, in your career, bodybuilding, weightlifting, strongman, have there been some leaders in your life who are really great to you when the chips were down? Not bosses, I'm talking leaders that were like, oh man, this guy's really got my best interest in mind. I can tell that he's encouraging or she's encouraging or supporting unconditionally, which to me is that whole idea of always. And then how do you create that culture of constant encouragement, John? Unconditional encouragement. John, what's your point of view on this?
I think when it comes down to it, going back to what I say about kids, nobody gives a shit they don't give a shit what we say. They care what we do. And I think adults are much like that too. The people that affected me were the ones that were right alongside me, but they were doing the shit. They taught me to do the shit nobody else would do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that right there is what's missed here. When you're willing to do the shit that most people won't do, and you're the first one to do it when the chips are down, this is what the team looks at this and goes, okay, he doesn't have to do shit, but he's getting it done. And as a leader, as whatever you want to call it, I forgive the term, a boss, if you're the higher up if you're the highest on the totem pole, when the chips are down, that's when you get dirty. That's when you do the shit that everybody else needs to see you do, because then it seems possible for them too. It's real easy to kick ass when it's peaches and cream, when it's
Yes.
dark, when it's cold, when it feels like you're putting in a lot of work and there's not a lot of return. That's when you need that guy in there just busting it up, clearing out the way, saying, come on, the light is behind, just get behind me because we're headed towards the light. We just don't see it right now. And for me, that's been the biggest form of leadership, is watching that guy. When I was learning this skill myself, when I was learning to be a leader, watching the people that were doing what I was trying to do, and they were leading by example.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Hey, Tina, as we wrap up the segment here, some would argue that too much encouragement makes people soft. Do you think there's a thing as too much encouragement for a human being, Kristina Flynn?
I think that if you look at leadership as leading humans versus leading an individual, there's going to be a very big discrepancy between how you approach it. So what I mean by that is too much encouragement going to make somebody soft? Assumes we're all the same. When I'm a leader, I need to look at one person in front of me and say, what do they need? What is their way of communicating? What is their way of needing validation? What's their love language of sorts, right? As it relates to leadership. And how do I understand that most so that I can bring the best out of them? The reality is some people might need more encouragement than others. Does that mean like they're a fucking awful employee? Does that mean they're like a brutal team member? No. It means that they need and require other things. Does it make them soft? If they need that, then I need to give that to them because that's going to put them in the best position they need to succeed. I'm not talking about doing it out of context or for no reason. I'm talking about if they are actually doing a good job and you know that there's somebody who needs a little extra encouragement, then give them the fucking extra encouragement. What does it matter to you?
Yeah, said Kristina.
And,
Hey, listen.
and everybody has, real quick, everybody has their language. As a leader, you got to learn that some people respond better to X and others respond better to Z. And once you start to understand that it's, you find their code, you find their language, and then your leadership and your encouragement hits them in the right spot.
Yes, exactly. And you all's coming in with some closing comments. Back to inspiring through actions. Nothing more inspiring than to see someone taking in the chaos and nothing but harmony coming out on the other side. Very well said. And you all says encouragement in the word helps them deal with their fears. It gives them the courage to go through what was perceived as boundaries. You're bang on there, you all. So I appreciate you jumping into the show today and offering some comments onto the platform here. So listen, if you're ready to start living that Business Athlete Manifesto, I'm going to invite you to hit the like button and subscribe. Over the last few days on Friday, we started digging into the Business Athlete Manifesto. We rolled into it yesterday. We continue with it today. We're going to continue with it throughout the rest of the week. I invite you, let us know in the comments how you're aligning your business and your wellness and yourself to help you hit your big, audacious goals. And hey, we're wrapping up the show today. What a good one. We went for 2 hours. We started off with some great conversation. I don't even remember how we started the show there a couple hours ago, but we ended up with some sex talk with AI bots. We ended up with some mental fuel with AJ Zeglin. Mark LaRousse joined us today to talk about storytelling, and we ended up with encouragement and empowerment and these ideas of the Business Athlete Manifesto. But Tina, Jonny, it's time to get on, man. The show's over. We're back tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time, Monday to Friday.
I know it's always because I start getting this like sun
I see it.
pattern on my face when we hit 10 o'clock. Now that the sun is changing and all that kind of shit. So I need to figure that out. But it's cool.
Check it out. I got the same thing because that sun on your face is my stomach saying, hey, dipshit, get some more flesh in here.
You're hungry.
I see that. Nation, thanks for joining us. You all, thanks for joining us. Good time. Shinku, everybody, Lauren, everybody, thanks for joining us this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time, right here on Mornings in the Lab. Have a good one, guys. Thanks, producer Jimmy.